So, thank you, Apple. I'm going to call us to order and begin by asking staff to do a roll call. It's here.
Member Holt.
Here.
Member Burke. Here. Member Moore.
Here.
Member Hutchin. Here. Member Canopa.
Here.
And Member Andrews.
Great. So our first item of business is election of the chair and vice chair. The floor is open for nominations. I'd like Bob to continue as vice chair.
Okay, I'm happy too.
I think that's a good idea, but I'm not the person to make a motion.
I move that Bob Moore stays in the position of vice chair.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion and second, Peggy and Oscar. Any further conversation about that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Bob, for agreeing to do that. And we need a nomination for chair.
I would move that Pam Sippernagel continue as chair.
I am willing to accept that nomination.
I second that.
Are there further nominations? Is there any discussion on the motion for Pam to be chair, continue as chair? Okay, wrapping it up, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are unanimous, and on we continue. I believe that I have at least one of us that needs to be out the door by 5:30, and that's what our agenda was expected to go to. Does anyone else need to be out of here before then? And if your phones are silenced, that would be a really good idea, just as a reminder. The agenda had a couple of things that were hangover business items that I believe staff's prepared to talk about. And so we thought we'd add those toward the end of the agenda if we have time. Most follow up from our September 24th meeting. So does anyone have anything that they saw missing on the agenda that you wanted to make sure we covered today? Okay,
I'm good.
Not hearing any, let's move into the business portion. Approval of the minutes from September 26th, 2024.
Motion approval.
Motion by Bob to approve.
Johnny will second.
Johnny will second. Is there any amendments?
There is what I believe is a typo on page 4. At Gallery California Extended Marketing, where it says, provided a summary of how arts and culture and impact to.
R.
It should be, yeah.
RN.
Add impact or RN.
RN impact. I saw that too.
Other than that, I
Okay,
don't see.
and that was a friendly amendment. The motion and the second both take it as such. All right, other changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are approved for the minutes. Thank you, staff. That's like the worst job in the world. I'm sorry. Minutes, listening to other people. We have business from the public. We do have scheduled business that includes reviewing 6 requests for funding. We have reports from one of our prior recipients and at least one tourism agency report in our packet from Lise. So, oh, and I don't know, Rebecca, do you guys from visitors have?
We gave it the last time.
Okay. Okay, so those folks are scheduled as part of our agenda. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to us from the public?
Those are.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, we're going to move off of business from the public and into scheduled business. First item under scheduled business, the Collaborative Tourism Promotion CTP Grant Evaluation and Awards. I'd like to begin, Jennifer, you have a memo to us about how much funding is available and what's in our packet. You want to just highlights of that?
Yes, so annually there is $50,000 to be awarded. At the September meeting, 25,600 was awarded. That leaves 24,400 remaining of funds available. So Through that, there were a total of 6 applications, and we have invited those that have applied. Some of them are reapplications from the September meeting, as they fine-tuned some things that the committee had asked for. So the items are listed on the memo in alphabetical order.
Okay, so we are not obligated to expend the funds that remain. Is that true?
Correct.
Right. But we have the latitude to go up to that amount.
Correct, the 24,400.
Right. All right. I would propose we take them in order alphabetized. Does anyone mind me going that route? No. All right. So step 1 is, I believe, Albany Carousel.
Couldn't say the.
T.
Okay, so I don't know, because I've not done this process before. If you want me to stand and
Yeah.
I'm reading from my leadership class, so I'm not probably as prepared as you guys would like. But what I'm asking for is for headsets that will change our tour down in the museum. As the tour guides are giving it in English, it will go down and translate into Spanish for our Spanish speaking visitors. The area here has high percentage, 14 to 16%, and that could be an old number too, of Spanish as first language for people. And we've had more than one group turn away because nobody could facilitate them for our museum. And I think that as we're growing and having more groups, and as we need to be more bilingual there at the carousel, not only with the headsets, but with signage, that this is my ask today. And so I started, I don't know, I think you probably have everything, but a kind of a starting packet of 30 of those translators is kind of the big ask. And then the signage to go along with that throughout the carousel for all of our signage to be bilingual would be kind of the second ask. So for the total of $10,000, and we'll probably go over that with the signage and stuff, but I can find that balance if needed, or it can be a 2-step process for us. But starting with the translators is really important. I think it's important to the visitors and the tourists that are coming here.
That was a question I had, was you're asking for 10,000, but you've only given them seats for 52,600.
Yeah, it asked in the application, I think, to give what you had or a percentage of it, and that's what I did, just because the signage can definitely vary. If we go to the ones that are on wood, and if we go to the ones, so I'm going to have to work within a budget for sure, and that's why it will go probably well over $10,000. But the headsets are a priority, and then signage after that for whatever amount is allotted through this, and then future grants that I can apply for to get that changeover done. So we're 100%.
Other questions?
No, I'll ask my question.
That was mine too. I do have another one related to
Sure.
budget. You say that it will cost an additional $4,400 annually. Are you folks prepared in your budgets to be able to
Yes.
provide the maintenance of these?
Yes. Maintenance on these, and this also be additional signage, because once we start going in the dual language, we'll be doing that for all of our events and everything. So, yeah,
All right.
it's a commitment we're doing.
Other questions? Okay, we'll be talking about you later.
Great. That'll be the first time.
I appreciate the a focus on detail. Remember, we have your detailed submittals in front of us, so your airtime is best put into what's new and novel, or pointing out the high points for us. Okay, who's next alphabetically? The Albany Civic Theater.
Hi, good afternoon. Douglas Hambley with the theater. And what we're asking for help with is to replace the tracks that are on our marquee. And so our theater's been around a long time. This is our 74th season. It has gone through a couple of different remodels over the years since we've had this building since 1968. And the tracks that hold up the titles of the shows and the oncoming have deteriorated. They're about 20 years old now. We've been told the expected lifespan is 10 years. And so we're having problems, with letters falling out and that type of thing. So we'd really like to get that upgraded. We submitted a bid that now is 2 years old. for $4,300, $4,316.
Right.
We expect that probably the price has gone up since then, but we're able to cover the difference if there is assuming there is a difference.
Okay,
Do you have any questions about that? Or?
You answered my question because I was you were asking for 4,500 and there's 4,360.
Oh, okay, in the application 45, yeah, okay, 45, yeah, so, yeah, we are expecting it to be a bit higher than the quote that we got 2 years ago, so.
I have two questions, but I want the other members of the committee to have a chance to ask theirs first. Sharon's out there. I'm not seeing anybody
I
say,
would say that those,
Yeah.
those tracks are way.
oh, no,
Yeah. And actually, and what we're proposing is, right now, they're kind of a plastic kind of track. And like I said, the expected lifespan of those, it's not that long. And, it's a south-facing wall, so they get heat and so forth. So what we're proposing is to replace those with aluminum tracks to last much longer.
So my two questions are, this is a historic property within a historic district. And if you're making a modification to the property, it requires landmarks advisory review. I believe you're doing maintenance work as opposed to a modification to your property.
Yeah, so I've talked to the people, I have
city
to find her
staff,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, city staff, about whether we had to do anything that, she said, as long as we're just kind of replacing it and maintenance, then it did not need to go through any sort of historic review or anything like that.
Perfect. And then the second question ties back into that. If it's maintenance, what is this giving us in the way of tourism draw that's new and novel beyond what we
Well,
have today?
yes.
I know you did a good job of covering why it's important.
Yeah.
No argument there, just we need to have a reason why this is tourism.
Well, so we feel that with the way it is right now, letters are falling apart, falling down at times. We just had one that got replaced up there today because it had fallen since last week. So I guess we feel that it deters people if they see, this doesn't look like it's in good shape, and maybe the productions aren't as good or something like that. We just feel like with something that is much easier to maintain and better shape, it'll be a draw to more people.
Thank you.
That's
Good.
one of the main things that we have that draws people to the theater is the sign. It's very present when you're driving up and over the bridge and so forth.
And there's a lot of traffic there.
There is a lot of traffic there, yeah.
The
So
visual,
Deteriorating.
Yeah, so-
the visual aspect of it, it does look like,
yeah,
I go there, but
yeah,
I agree.
it's overdue, but that's
And you guys have the remainder funds if the price tag ends up being from 4S ends up being higher than.
yes, we do.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, Albany Huts. Albany Huts. Who's speaking on behalf of Albany Huts? Mike Edwards,
Application was Mickey.
Yeah. Are you, yes? No, not yet. But soon. Don't go anywhere. No one's here for Albany Huts. Transitional shelters. All right. I wouldn't mind if you guys asked any questions now so we can get those into the record in the right spot.
Okay, so my question was, there was no budget attached to this, just this is what they're asking for. Did I miss something there, Jennifer? No budget was provided? My second question is where? The idea is short-term transitional safe place for homeless people, but nowhere does it state where. Is there land? Is there? Because we don't allow camping, so I would imagine these aren't just gonna pop up along the roadside. Those are my questions.
Well, and I question whether or not this is strictly tourism.
That is,
That's my biggest thing, is how does it fit into tourism?
Into the objectives that we laid out.
I could pitch a very,
Can I weigh in? Yeah,
Bob's almost done. Go
okay.
ahead.
I could pitch a case that I could kind of, sort of, maybe make it that way, but it's really abstract and I can't come up with it.
Okay.
So maybe Sharon should shed some.
So, and we will talk about who we will fund as a next step, but did you have any questions for this component, Sharon?
The only thing is I've had conversations with Mike, so I do know him, and he's got a concept about wanting to provide huts for the homeless, and he's come to the city council before on it. I don't believe he has his nonprofit status also. And the last I heard from him that he was trying to work with Albany Helping Hands for this. My concern is I don't even know why this was put on our agenda, because Jennifer, do you know why? Because this clearly is not tourism.
It was submitted and the committee still needs to be able to review that rather than full rejection once it's received.
It was what? Permitted?
No, it was received, so the committee needs to then review it versus a rejection by staff.
Okay, yeah.
And
We can talk about this process later, but
Yes.
I clearly agree this is not anything that would benefit tourism.
All right, we'll get to that part
Yeah.
later. So thank you for the question.
Mhm.
Any other questions that we would have asked if we could have? All right, let's move along then. The Cap and Stem Northwest folks. The Mushroom Festival.
you can tell by your shirt.
Yes. Can you tell us your names and off we go?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Patrick Winchesky. I'm the board president of Cap and Stem Northwest, and we're here today to ask for some of the CTTP funds to help fund the 2025 Albany Mushroom Festival. Last time I was here in September, I told you about the outstanding success that the 2024 festival was. Not only the festival attracting almost 8,000 people, but as well as the Mushroom Week that we promoted with restaurants having mushrooms in their menu, as well as the traffic that downtown Albany saw the day of the Mushroom Festival. I'm joined today by my colleague, Lane Adair, who is the treasurer of Cap and Stem Northwest. She'll go into a little bit more detail about exactly what we're looking for. Last time I was here, you requested that we bring forward some specific items as improvements for 2025, and I believe that the improvements that Lane will describe not only increase the capacity for this event for 2025, but will also establish this event as an Albany event and will help promote for years and years to come. This event is unique and exciting, and I'm really excited to be here today and share with you. And I'll pass it off to Lane.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I haven't been here, so thanks for having me. So as Patrick said, I'm Lane. I'm the board treasurer. I was also a staff volunteer last year, so I got to see like firsthand the preparation and everything. Biggest thing that I really enjoyed was getting feedback from people. So I had feedback from people of Albany, people who had traveled to Albany specifically to come to the festival. Biggest feedback theme we got was capacity building. So in terms of the budget we provided, first aspect would be site improvement, or the category we identified as site improvement. The grant money would help with increased security, tent rental, portable toilets and hand washing, and beer garden fencing as well. And we did include some quotes in our application as well for that. So those would address those two main feedback points that we got for the capacity building. On to marketing as well as our next category. So signage, flyers. You may have seen our yard signs about town. There was one on the highway over there. So this will improve reach. Oh, also social media boosts, which definitely would improve reach to larger, broader areas. So not just Albany, but we had somebody come in from Canada. We had a guy from China as well, which was really kind of crazy, but awesome as well.
And then marketing in general also helps us interact and work with local businesses. So Mushroom Week, we had 11 local businesses that we were able to advertise for them. They were kind of able to help us out as well. So just the amount of traffic it produced for them with visitors and everything. And then program improvements, so a photographer to capture kind of the events, capture downtown Albany, so we can market as well for that. Last thing on the budget would be the bands that we had who volunteered their time. We'd love to set aside a little bit of that grant money to pay them and give them a proper stage. So as treasurer, I think about like return on investment. So making these improvements would not only build on last year's success, but make us more self-sustainable moving forward. It would help us like easier get local businesses to participate, easier to build our reputation so we can fundraise better in the future with businesses ourselves, and increase marketing. Just wider reach would bring in more tourism to Albany ultimately. So with this grant, we can really build upon working that into our MO. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah. So I think that's my.
And I noticed some of you have our budget in black and white. So all the pieces that we're asking for the grant funds are in yellow.
I do have some
Highlight.
extras that
We do
I
have some
did
highlights
highlight.
just to keep everything
Yeah.
like really straightforward. This is our entire budget, with everything that, including what the grant is not covering. So we just wanted to put it all on paper and separate out. But thank you. We're excited to answer any questions you may have.
I love that this was well thought out. Good job on the budget. It was very worth it from my seat. So folks on the committee, do you have any questions you'd like to ask? Please,
I
guys.
have one.
Go ahead, Bob.
The information, your total expenses are 20,000 and you're asking for 12, and anticipating making 13. What are your plans for the difference between the 8 and the 13, basically?
Sponsors or something?
So we did have a lot of in-kind donations last year, and I think we built somewhat of a reputation last year. So hoping that external fundraising as well would kind of make up that difference.
Yeah, a lot of our finances do come from sponsorships, as well as the vendor applications. And so our goals were just kind of based on last year with the, but we wanted to be particular about asking for very specific items that we think are specific improvements for this next year. So,
and I appreciate that very much. I'm just looking at, is this your contingency fund? Whether this extra 5,000, is that your contingency fund for next year? Is that?
So any excess that we'll be getting this year will directly be going towards the festival this 2026.
That was the answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Other questions, folks? Other questions, Bob? I had them too. Thank you. Do you have a targeted marketing area? Who are you mostly trying to attract? And then maybe what's the next bubble out?
A lot of our focus right now, I mean, we're a group of volunteers. So a lot of our focus right now is in Albany. It's an Albany event. And we're connected to more and more partners here in town, especially with Mushroom Week and getting involved with different organizations and restaurants here in town. But we are, last year we expanded a little bit to Lebanon as well as Corvallis, got some business and interest from them. But I just thinking the I-5 corridor is just a convenient thing for people to access and come down from Salem, Eugene. I'm not sure how much ability we'll have to bring posters, but we will be focusing on other marketing medias in those areas.
Okay, so kind of I-5 corridor, state, main target answer, yes, Albany centerpiece.
Willamette Valley.
Yeah, Willamette Valley, that's, all right, so there is mention of a increase expected this year. At one point under question two, you say draw thousands of visitors. Now, last year you had 1,000 or more. You guys quit counting, as I recall,
Yes.
because you got so overwhelmed by the foot.
Yeah.
Do you have a projected increase of what you're hoping for this year so that you've got the things in place? Have you thought through your crowd control at that level?
I would say at least, I mean, it's really weather dependent as well. And we don't have we're expecting 8,000 people just based on our numbers this last year and some expanded marketing efforts. And we've heard countless and countless from people that say, oh, I heard about it, but I really wish I was there, but I didn't hear about it until it was too late, or I couldn't make it this time. And so now that we're established, now that people know what this is and what to expect, I think many people are going to be excited not only to come back, but come to this event because they didn't hear about it last year. So we are expecting between the 7,000 to 8,000 or more. At least that's what we're looking for insurance wise.
Thank you. Yeah.
And in terms of like managing the crowds, the security is massive. If we're going to be getting more people in the beer garden, having more dedicated fencing and security to help secure that. We've been looking a lot at different volunteer parking services because parking was such a significant hassle for us this last year. And then just like the design of the festival, the width of the sidewalks and where we're, having people walk and the accessibility piece and as well as the bathrooms, kind of just making it more comfortable, convenient for more people.
I think you guys hit all the right spots. You guys have other questions for them?
No, just, I'm one of those that found out about it too late.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'll be there next year.
Timberland, right?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
Great. I think you guys have done a good job of packaging it the way that we hoped for. I just wanted you to get a thank you from this side of the table for taking the time because they came in expecting to be reimbursed, hoping to be reimbursed for what
Yes.
they'd already invested
2 days
in
after the
last year.
festival.
That was a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I'm sure that was painful and we didn't like sending you away. But did you work with staff or the Visitors Association?
Yes, Rebecca has been so wonderful and Jennifer as well, so supportive and so many questions going throughout this process. And we're really fortunate to have such a supportive group watching for us.
Thank you for that. And thanks
And
to
thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you.
All right. You're off the hot seat. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Well done. Get out of here. Quick as now. Oh, that's my piece of paper. Where are we? Who's next? Thank you. Give a hoot. Hi.
Okay, hi. I should have went before them because I don't have anything highlighted. Sorry, great job, guys. I just pick up trash, so I'm I'm with Giving a Hoot,
What's your name?
Bobby Williams
Thank
Herrera.
you. I knew that.
I'm co-founder of Giving a Hoot, and we're going on our 3rd year. We're a volunteer group. We have our 3 areas that we maintain, that we are helping to do some fine tuning on getting the weeds out of the cracks and picking up the trash. We're at Spring Hill, Highway 20, the train station. Last year we added on Lyons and Ellsworth.
Right.
And then I-5 Knox Butte. And to date, it's been myself and my co-founder that we have been supplying everything we need for our organization, and our board members have been helping with that. We have started reaching out so that maybe we can get a little support for our supplies, namely our gloves, our safety equipment. We have our vests. As our groups grow, we need more safety vests. And there are some, this one's not bad. There are some that are needing to be replaced. And we do have our own branded vests. So when we're getting larger groups, 20 to 30 people sometimes at a time. And we're needing to replace a few, but also increase our inventory. We'd also like to, our pickers, we go through 20 to 30 of those a year. They do wear out. And we are picking up a lot of garbage. So we're hoping to be able to buy more of those and have those on hand so that when they are needing to be replaced, they're not cheap. So as well as our gloves for our volunteers and safety glasses and our carts to get the equipment around. So we're needing to replace some of those items. We also have our signs that we put out during cleaning events. We put them out. It's kind of a safety thing for us, but also so people know who's out here, what are those people doing. No, we're not on the work crew. Although, you know, some people suspected Crystal and I were when we first started, but we're down to 2 of those signs. So we'd like to replace those as well. We're looking for up to $1,200 for our supplies and up to $500 for our safety vests and up to $300 for our signs.
1,200 supplies.
Yeah,
It's broken down in
I got it.
It's right here. 12, 5, and 3.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I put a sticker over it, sorry.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me put all my
Right.
stuff in, so I had to attach it all.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you, Bobby. You guys have questions?
Well, I'm one of the trash picker uppers, so
Yes.
I don't have any
Yes.
questions other than, it's amazing how much trash we pick up in each of these locations. This past Saturday, we picked up a broken TV that somebody had to have thrown out of their car, going under the overpass, and because it was in the grass and shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And you just think, really? So, but yes, I always think people drive by and go, oh yeah, Peggy's on work crew.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful that they're branded on that.
Well, and as time has gone on and the more and more we do each area, we're finding that the maintenance is sticking more. Then we'll have less trash in some areas. We don't do it in December. So, and the Knox Butte area with all the restaurants around there, that's what Peggy was referring to, that gives an opportunity for that to collect. So.
You folks have other questions?
Pam, yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bobby, when you came last year, I think it was in the fall, and then I had mentioned that this should have been funded out of the street fund to be able to support this program. So were they approached? Does anyone know what happened?
Yes.
That's a staff question. Go
Mhm.
ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, so actually this is part of my staffing and the follow-up questions that were asked at the last meeting. We had followed up with Public Works, who the organization was directed to. They don't have a fund or a mechanism in which to fund financially. They can help in kind other ways, picking up the trash and whatnot, but they don't have a fund in which to provide those funds, which is why I had acknowledged that and encouraged them to reapply, because it needed to come back to the committee then.
So they can hire sheriff's work crew. So there's got to be source of funds there for road cleanup. So I'm fully in support of this, but shame on our public works department for not supporting this. This saves them a lot of money by having these volunteers come out and clean up our our arterial ways. So thank you, Bobby, for what all you do. So
Thank you. If through ODOT, the work crew is funded, and we do partner with ODOT on that's how we started, was we adopted these areas, and we're coming up to renew that. So thank you, Sharon.
yeah,
I'd like to
Thank
talk
you.
about that some more when we get into our discussion. You say you're a nonprofit organization.
We are.
So, do you have liability insurance?
We do not.
Should you have asked us for liability insurance?
I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
So we're adopting through ODOT. So they didn't ask us for that.
No, it's not a requirement. I just think it would be really smart for the organizing officers to have something behind them.
Gotcha.
And we're supposed to provide a little bit of our expertise as we're
Gotcha.
sitting here
Okay.
too. So I would
Great.
advise you to think of, and maybe talk to Rebecca about how some of the other nonprofits are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is have somebody get hit
Oh, yeah.
and you get sued.
Well, or
Yes,
trip
we
and
have the
fall.
release.
It's simple. Yeah.
No, yes.
So that's me looking out for you, not in any criticism of what you're
Oh,
doing.
no, thank you.
I just think it would be a smart move. Any other
Okay.
questions or comments for them?
How long have you been your organization been in existence?
We're going on 3 years. So we actually just started, we were incorporated in 2022, and then we became a nonprofit in 2023. So at that time, people were trying to give us money. Now nobody wants to give us money. Now we're a profit. And it's like, okay, well. That's how we got our first 29 vests, is somebody wanted to donate it. And so we had them just go buy them. And we set it up through somebody, and they just gave them to us.
So one sign that says, like what you see, here's where to donate.
Here, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bobby.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right. Next, you were excited to come up. It's your turn. Lynn Benton, Hispanic Advisory Committee for the Festival Latino Project Marketing Component. And your name is?
Christian.
Hi, Kristen.
Okay, what's different this time than what was presented back in September is that we have a complete set of quotes for marketing services that were requested for the full amount that we're requesting. Also, what's different is that we've had a chance to work on big picture strategy for our festival. So that means set a goal of how many attendees, and from there work our way back into how much we should be investing in marketing, how much we should be investing in other components of festivals, such as entertainment and whatnot. So we've done our homework there.
It looked like it to me too. How many folks do you hope to bring in?
2,000.
2,000. How many folks did you bring in last year?
850 that we for sure know, but we know it was more, so it's probably 1,000 is the number I would guess.
Yeah, so, but substantial, almost double.
Yes, yeah. There was some discussion in the group how much we want to grow, and consensus was double.
Yeah. So this is not a new event. It's been going 23 years, if I did my math right. There was 1 year you didn't do it. Anything you want to tell us besides what's in your proposal?
Well, I think that, I think it's important to continue investing in events that diversify and add cultural diversity to the area, the event. I think the potential for bringing in visitors is very high. It's very concrete. There are no similar festivals nearby, so it is, and it has the history, it has the legacy, it's known. We just need that extra investment to reach out further and reach out to other audiences.
Okay. Thank you. You all have questions?
Is there anything new in the event itself?
Or is it the same?
Largely the same. We're adding a few more elements that essentially the leadership has that discretion. So one thing I'm pushing this year is to bring exhibit of Cesar Chavez and the work that he's done. So bring that historical educational element. I'm trying to push the group to work towards something beyond entertainment, so, celebrating culture, celebrating art, that kind of thing. So if any of you plan to attend,
Yeah, new elements.
we should have that, yes.
New elements are something that is specifically called out. Advertising new elements.
Thank you. That's great point.
You want to talk to us about your marketing area? Who do you see drawing into this?
Absolutely. The Willamette Valley. And so in my conversations with all these different vendors, the magazines, the radios, the newspapers, I was amazed that, they have packages. Essentially, you want to reach out Oregon, you want to reach out your city, you want to reach out county, and so what makes sense to us is definitely the Willamette Valley, Salem to Eugene, Sweet Home to, near coastal areas. Newport does have a new nonprofit now that they do similar work with us as we do. Anyways, that's the target area.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions, folks? Is your location Timberland?
We hope so. We have not put in writing yet, but we hope so, yes.
Where was it last year?
Timberland.
And before that, Monteith.
And before that, Monteith, right? There is a fraction of our members that are wishing it would go back to Monteith, but last time we heard Monteith was not, it was only for city-sponsored events, not for third parties. So we'll have to ask about that again this year, but we'll see.
Christian, thank you.
Okay.
All righty. And that concludes our review of proposals. Next step is, folks, what are you thinking? We know we cannot invest in everything. I've heard some concerns that some do not fit. I guess I'd entertain your conversation and let's work toward a conclusion on what to do here.
Well, being the new kid on the block.
Okay.
When I look at the definition of what this funds, that last request is the only one that I see that fits this.
Okay. The cap and stem, I believe, also does. Why do you not think it does?
Well,
Where is it shot?
So it is for event startup costs.
True.
They're already established event. It's for new marketing campaigns. It is for expanded advertising for a new element of an existing event. And it's for travel expenses to submit proposals.
See that document? I'm sure I got emailed, but I did.
Nope, I printed
Hold
that
it
off the
on.
website.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And it's repeated right here on page 6.
It's that bottom paragraph underneath the table.
Well, and there's also a component in the
It
application,
continues up second year.
or there is an opportunity for project.
It's permissive of multi-year funding.
Right.
For continuation.
But
I'm not sure.
But under this,
Under that, where you're reading, that is it.
I don't think it's very well worded. I think
Agreed.
that may be the problem.
That's later on
It's-
our agenda to fix.
Yeah.
And these
I don't
folks are
think
here
it's-
before us
Yeah,
today.
exactly.
So, go ahead, Bob.
I did put together what I thought in the way of funding.
Okay, what was your thought?
Sell for $52.65,
Okay, for just the headsets?
just for the headsets. We don't have anything on the remaining piece. Based upon the presentation, it could be something.
Okay.
The Albany Civic Theater, at this point in time, I had 4316. I did not look at the date on their on the bid that they got. Cap and stem, I had 8819. Giving a hoot, I had 2000.
Before you go on, cap and stem, 8819, what did you pull out? Did you pull forward?
I did not pull anything in particular out. Basically, they were my plug.
Oh, okay, so they were rounding, got it.
I'm giving a hoot at 2000 and then the Hispanic at 4000.
Okay, to balance everything.
Just to, and it comes out to 24.
Okay,
And if somebody wants to make a change, I got it on a spreadsheet here. It's an easy change.
right.
I know. Okay, good job.
I'd like to hear, before we go further, Albany huts. Does anyone want to propose that that be considered? I did not feel it was a fit at all. Funded.
Remove it. Can I make that proposal?
Not so much, it's just like not consider. We have considered it, but we will
I
not go
propose
further.
no.
Further. There's a motion to not consider Albany huts further.
Second.
A second by Johnny. Any further conversation about that? All in favor?
The only thing I'd like to ask Jennifer, are you sure they weren't intending to submit for the CDBG grant and they submitted on the wrong one?
Yeah.
I had specifically provided them the description of the grant when what it was for. So they were aware of what our grant was.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I don't know if they intended to apply for a different grant, but we did have a conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Our
Yeah.
was, and if it would or would not
Okay,
fit, but they did submit, and so I had to present.
okay, thank you. No, I'm in support of the motion, Pam. Proceed.
Okay, moving forward, all in favor of not considering
Aye.
this further?
Aye.
Any opposed? That would be unanimous. So we're taking that off and staff will not wait 2 to 3 months to get back to them and let them know so they can get themselves on a better track. I agree with Sharon. This should have been a CDBG request. I think they hit the wrong, and they had sent staff to Jennifer, a request saying, does this even fit? And so,
And I had responded.
yeah, so if you can get back right away on that, that would be polite and creates closure on that one. So that one's gone for now. Is there anything else you guys want to say doesn't belong on here? Bob's proposal, Bob, I'm assuming you feel like it all is a good fit?
I can make a case for all of them.
All right. Sharon, did you have something about, let's go back to the street fund and give a hoot.
Right. So could Bob repeat what all that he had mentioned about allocating and then kind of turn towards me so I can hear you more, Bob?
How about I do it because I'm right here and
Okay.
I'm shouting. Yeah.
Sounds good.
For Albany Carousel, 5265, Albany Civic Theater, 4316, nothing for huts. Cap and Stem, 8819, Give a Hoot, 2000, Lynn Benton Hispanic Advisory Committee, 4000.
That sounds good to me. So good job, Bob.
I think they're all great projects and I wish I could fund them with more, but I tried to be as fair as I felt I could be.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Can I
my,
ask a question
go
really
ahead.
quick?
Go.
Can I ask you did you say in your proposal, or you're talking to us, that you guys do have funding if
If it's
the
more.
proposal's more than you said it's
Yeah.
gonna be 4360?
Yeah, we
You guys can make up the difference?
Yeah, we can, yeah. So
That's fine.
So I have one hesitation and that's over the marquee. I feel it's maintenance and it doesn't boost anything. Yes, it takes care of an eyesore, but we have a lot of those and I'm concerned that this opens up a huge double door welcoming for maintenance projects. The urban renewal program is pretty much sunsetted for this kind of improvements. This doesn't fit any of the larger state historic preservation grants that are available. I don't see another source for it. So I would like to be able to fund this. I'm worried about the consequence of doing so because Oscar pointed out earlier, here are the buzzers we're supposed to be hitting, and it doesn't really draw more foot traffic. It just maybe scares less people away. It's a little different approach than some of our other.
But it could draw more traffic.
Well, it is useful to draw traffic today, even looking maybe not so perfect.
Yeah.
It is something. So one thing that she was mentioning and something I didn't mention. So next year, I did say that this year is our 74th season.
Mhm.
Next year is our 75th season. And so we are going to be promoting that landmark by adding verbiage to our logo, and also we could put that up on the marquee as well to celebrate that landmark achievement.
So there's an event tied to this marquee. You'll be promoting marketing this.
Yeah, promoting
I'm stretching.
this. So we would be getting just in time to promote the 75th anniversary season of Albany Civic Theater.
So that's why we'll be doing this marquee, is to promote the 75th season and coming to Albany to enjoy all of the culture we have available. Do you have something to add, Lise?
And people who might go past Albany straight to Corvallis might stop and read the sign.
Well,
They're stopped at the light, they're going to read this.
okay.
In a favorable manner.
We just needed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sharon, you want to talk about the street fund and giving a hoot, sorry. Oh, I'm not hearing you, Sharon.
You're muted.
Still not hearing
me-
you. There you are.
So to me, it does benefit our tourism. You have to make an attractive community. So I don't have no problems with it out of this fund, but I tell you, this needs to come from our street fund, and that needs to be worked out. And it's just unfortunate. There's plenty of money in that fund to be able to pay $2,000. So I say we need to keep them going. We need to make sure they've got the tools to be able to keep our community attractive. I'd almost rather increase the funds for AVA and have them filter it to giving a hoot. So it looks like we are still promoting the tourism piece to it, but that's just my opinion on it. So we appreciate all the volunteers, and it's just kind of unfortunate. This is the only avenue they're having to reach out with city funds. So
I'd like to follow up on that. Just because the city does not have a line doesn't mean it can't be created that fast.
exactly.
So I don't feel that is a valid reason why the street fund isn't able to provide funding. I would like our committee, as we did at our last meeting, to have a separate motion directing the staff look at in the budget how to establish a line for this for an ongoing program. And if it turns out they provide the funding to Giving a Hoot or to some other group, doesn't matter. That should just be a basis within the city's responsibilities. Basic litter control. They have to take it from the fire department. That's a different thing. There is money in that street fund.
Mm-hmm.
So separate motion though. Let's try to tidy this up first. Right now, Giving a Hoot is still within our proposal. Does anyone have any other changes that they'd like to see to what Bob's proposed? Bonnie, you good? Good. Peggy?
I'm good. Thanks, Bob.
Oscar, you had concern that most of these didn't fit?
Yeah, I've spent too much time on landmarks where it's, land use
Too
decisions.
much time to start there.
So I have a hard time. These fit the description.
Okay. Did you want to encourage us to do something differently?
I have a suggestion. Actually,
Yeah.
I agree with Oscar on it, but I kind of think we're kind of stuck this time. We can talk about it later, but I see maybe a little bit changes in our questionnaire in the application that maybe it would get the applicants to be able to know that these funds are really for promoting more hotel stays. So I think it's something we should discuss as a group later. But I agree with you, Oscar.
Okay. So it sounds like we're coming toward agreement here. We don't work on consensus, we work on a vote. So need a motion and a second. Bob?
I motion that we provide funding in the amounts of 5,000. Should I do them individually or as a group?
Sure.
I'll do them as a group. But Albany Carousel at 5265, the Albany Civic Theater at 4316, Captain STEM Northwest at 8819, Giving a Hoot at 2000, Hispanic Advisory Committee for 4,000, and nothing for.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second by Johnny. Further conversation? Questions? Call for the vote.
I'm just going to make a comment. I'm going to vote against this just because it doesn't fit the scope of things. I'm not voting against because I don't think they're right things. Just to me, it's a technical issue.
I had the same concerns, Oscar, so I will be voting yes, however, because that's where we are. Thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
So we have one no from Oscar. Otherwise, all in favor, we pass. You guys, thank you for all that you're doing to make this a good community. If you look at the breadth of the stuff that you all represent, it's impressive. I mean, we've got acting and pollution control and mushrooms and Latino. It's just a really interesting mix of what's going on. And I think that's what our community is. We're eclectic. So celebrating you and your volunteers, please take it back to them, how much we appreciate everything they're doing. And our staff remains, Visitors Association remains available to help you if you get in glitches. Who hasn't served on at least 1 or 5 nonprofit boards here, right? So we've been in your shoes. Let us help you too on an individual level, because this is a small part of our giving back to the community. Thanks, guys. You don't have to stick around for the rest, but you're welcome to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Sharon? I'm gonna come back to you. I'm looking for a motion about the street fund. If you want to put your head around that. You don't have to give it to me now. We're gonna let the room kind of clear out for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll send you an email. Thank you.
Bye, thank you
all.
guys.
Thank you.
Great projects all.
Okay, so calling on Sharon to finish up that loose thread of the street fund and giving a hoot. Can you?
Right. So, I mean, actually, Pam, there's kind of a couple avenues to go. It would be, I mean, we can encourage the street fund or even Parks and Rec fund, but it's probably more on the state highway, so it'd be street fund, to take this out of one of their regular line item that they do to fund the sheriff's work crews. And there is the funds in the street fund. I'm sorry, but they're spending $460,000 for 4 EV chargers. They can come up with $2,000 to clean our streets. So,
For what?
yes.
Oh,
I
EV.
just-
I heard EV.
Yeah, EV
Sorry.
charger. Yeah. So, I just think it's I don't frankly understand why staff's doing the pushback on it. So that's what kind of really surprises me. So I don't know if a motion would do any good, Pam. I mean, it's just, this is our, this is my opinion. I don't know if the rest of the group feels that way, but the only thing is, since this is tourism dollars, giving the hoot shouldn't be coming back to us. That's not what this group is for events or programs to be self-supporting. So I don't know. What's others' opinion?
Agreed. I see heads nodding.
Yeah.
So we don't talk as one voice. We have to have motions to be able to relay to the council, because we are advisory to council. And so we need, and unfortunately, minutes don't get there until after we've approved them in 6 months. So we have to direct staff to inform council at the next meeting. That has to be part of our motions. Otherwise, they don't hear about it till they hopefully read the minutes and realize they're looking through huge agenda packets. So that's, in my mind, what's needed is to get the message as soon as possible to council. And I would give the city budget folks the latitude to find the dollars and suggesting the street fund rather than directing the street fund. If they want to find a different spot to take it out of, I'm okay with that. And the street fund is a pool of dollars, guys. It's not just one source. There's a lot of different pieces of income coming in and coming. So that's my inclination.
So I would make a motion then to recommend to the city council, they direct staff to put in their budget, whichever fund they choose from, to support the efforts of the Giving a Hoot and what the tools that they need to be able to clean up our arterial gateways.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second to that? Johnny has a second to that. Conversation, folks?
Yeah, I've got
Go
a
ahead,
question.
Bob.
Since not only are we doing the cleanup, and the reason that I think that they deserve to get funding is that while it's maybe a stretch for tourism, at least it does beautify the area, so it makes people want to come. I don't see them coming to us for an ongoing thing, but I think they need ongoing funding.
That's what
And since not only is it the city, but they're also working on ODOT. And so getting money from the state, I don't know who they talk to or what they need to do, but I think the state needs to have a hand in this as well.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Bob. Since it's we all see the signage when we're driving down highways, highway adopted by.
Right.
It's that program, and I don't know, and I wish Bobby was here to answer that since they set it up with them. I don't know if the state's idea behind it is, well, you adopted it, it's your expense, you figure it out, or if there are funds. And that would be a really good question to ask. We should ask Bobby, but that's who he likely mentioned, and they set it up through the Adopt a Highway program.
So Bobby mentioned that he was working with ODOT.
Yeah.
And has been since the
But I-
beginning, but he
Yeah.
didn't clarify
But
what
they
that
didn't
meant.
clarify what that meant.
Right.
And I think in addition to asking the city for some assistance, and I may, since the budget's already been written and approved, I don't know that they will go back and find the funding. But where I'm going is ask them to put it in on a go forward basis at the very minimum. To just include some of that. And I think it needs to be specific because you don't want to open a can of worms that says, oh, well, we're going to put money in for cleaning up the roads, and then we got 15 different outfits that do it.
Yeah. Sharon, your motion was specific to Giving a Hoot, yes?
Yes,
That wasn't just entry cleanup or something? Okay.
Well, and the motion was to, for this group to recommend to the city council to direct staff to put in their budget coming up, whichever fund they choose to be able to support this program.
Great. And that was your understanding is the second, so.
That's about all we can do is really just recommend to the city council.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay, well, I would entertain further conversation, discussion. If none,
I think that's a great approach. This body just gave them $2,000 for their immediate needs. So going forward, at the next fiscal budget.
well said.
Agreed. Because what we work with on ODOT, just to throw that in, this might be a little bit of what, we collect the garbage, we bag it with the bags that ODOT gives us. We giving a hoot, we the volunteers. And then ODOT does come and pick up all of that. So that is the only help that ODOT has given, and again, I'm not on the board, I'm only a volunteer, is they provide the big yellow bags and they pick up the full big yellow bags. And so when Bobby says they're working with them, that's part of the working partnership is we collect, we have to haul it to a certain location and then they pick it up.
So I'd like to do our vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Staff, can you get that in front of the council at the next? I know we have a meeting next week. That's too soon, but in the next council agenda packet for us.
Well, and there is a budget committee that is looking, because we are towards the end of a fiscal cycle. And so that budget committee will be beginning to look at changes to that budget and recommendations for the next cycle.
So this is directed, the motion was directed to council, so separate from the budget process. And then hopefully one of you who have a counselor who you might visit with, and you can let them know to be looking for, it's a small amount. It's a small amount. So, that should close that out. We are on to our next item. Yes. The post-grant event reports. We have one in our packet from the Coin folks. And they were present, was it our last meeting or the one before, and talked to us about how their event had gone. So this is their written piece. Nobody here to ask questions, but receipt of that. Moving along, we have tourism agency reports, pages 52 to 68. There's a long report from the Downtown Association. Lise, did you want to add anything to all of your pages of typing?
I'm just going to give you the January opportunity for the January newsletter.
Okay.
And other than that, if you have questions, I'm happy to entertain them. But no, I'm not going to take any more of your time.
Did that already come in email?
It should have come in email on the first of the month.
Right.
And we're excited that we're in progress on some grants with that as specific tourism, although making the buildings downtown look amazing helps tourism.
That's what
So-
we just decided.
Anyway, these are available. And
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much for supporting us.
At our last meeting, we had hoped to have time to look at a couple of the pieces that the Visitors Association was working on for marketing, and we didn't have time. We had to cut a couple of things off our agenda. We were encouraged to go online and do that, and until I read the minutes and remembered that was something we were supposed to do, I forgot about it. So staff, would you please send us the link to that?
I can do that.
To just like,
via email.
and like tomorrow, because otherwise I will again. Long gone, meant to look at that. Rebecca, did you have any updates, or you gave us again, like Lisa did, just a really thick report last time, but anything verbal you'd like to add?
Just that we're almost ready to show you the next video. And so once that's ready, finalized, we'll send that link out also. And we are hiring for the historic resource position. So Kim Jackson held a part-time position and retired. So we are hiring for that position. If you know somebody who's interested, have them reach out to me.
Okay. I think that's the end of outside reports. Nobody else is here, and I think Monteith is our only other typical entity that steps in.
report was in.
They gave us a letter last time, so we're well covered on that. The application process for updates, and also under staff report, I talked to Jennifer yesterday, the short-term rental status And also, yes, we're stepping into budget season, the budget projections, balance, carry forward, reserve kind of stuff. If we participate in any of that conversation. So Jennifer, I assume it's you, yes?
Yes.
Yes. All right, off you go.
So yes, staff report, I did include all the bullet points for all of those individual things, but have planned on coming here and updating you all as well. So first thing on kind of our agenda is, or on my agenda is short-term rental update. So just wanted to let you all know with the TLT funds, which is also what funds our grant program here. We have not currently had a mechanism in place to be able to collect from short-term rentals, which we do for traditional lodging such as hotels and motels. So we are under contract with Granicus, which is a third-party company, that they can go into the various sites, VRBO, Airbnb, etc. There's probably about 60 plus different sites that individuals can advertise on. And they can gather that information and also work, combine that against assessment records, etc. So with that, they have currently identified approximately 86 short-term rentals in the Albany city limits. One thing to note is Albany also collects for Lynn County. So if a property is located within Albany city limits, we're collecting not just for Albany, but for the county as well. And then we remit on their behalf. So Granicus is identifying all those properties. We worked with them over the last few months in getting them all the necessary information. And they are currently building our software. I am going through training with them on operating their dashboard so that we can see that. And then we will establish, we're hoping to have everything in place and start the no cost registration process so that we can begin to communicate with the property owners, managers, as well as then the remittance of those taxes, which will then start feeding into the TLT funds that are available as well. There is a report that is included, at least the last reporting of what was available of incoming TLT. So just wanted to include that in there for your information. But so that's where we are in working with them and hope to have that all set in place by the end of second quarter.
So you had told us at the last meeting you had hoped to have a contract in place.
We
You have the contract in place. The next piece is you are currently building a data set and figuring out how it's going to work with this company.
Yes.
And then next you're doing outreach. How much outreach, how many months of outreach are there?
I don't have
No, you're not there yet. Okay.
We're not there yet. They're building right now.
Right.
And then we will, with that, then it'll be a registration process to get information on who these people are. Because if you look at if you've ever looked at an Airbnb, VRBO registration, there's no information about
Breakdown.
yeah, exactly. Who, the address, who it is, etc. So there will be a huge outreach process in there. We're just in that identification process right now.
Do you envision that being months? I'm wondering, actually, let me ask the right question. When do you think money's going to start coming in?
We're hoping by the end of second quarter this year.
Second quarter is June, this summer.
Yes,
This summer, okay.
this summer. So end of June, beginning of July.
End of second quarter. I'm sorry, I haven't been working, so I don't talk in quarters
No,
anymore. Summer, got it. I know. Okay, you mentioned the tax receipts. I couldn't help but notice there's been some changes in how the funds are coming in. Do we have an idea of what's going on? Any speculation?
I know that they were still, when I got this report last week for the agenda, that was just the most up-to-date figures that was had at that time, and there were still receipts that needed to be logged in.
So we're gonna call maybe this last month not complete then.
Correct. I
Yeah.
would say for December and possibly even, it looks like November's in there, but yes, December has not been fully.
Right.
allocated.
That's the one. That is November, it's not in.
November's missing about 2/3 of what it normally has.
Yeah.
It's only got 20,000 as opposed to 100,000.
I was,
Unless
no, it's not in.
It's not.
It's not in.
Well,
So-
20,000 is listed. There's no way that's
Yeah.
right.
There's 20,
I'm with you, bud.
Oh, that's November. I apologize. I was seeing.
I was too, that's why
I was one month
Piece of
off,
paper,
but I was
I
viewing.
had.
I need a ruler.
I didn't get a piece of paper to be a ruler,
Yes,
So,
but November looks like it's missing.
yes. So I would say November and December have not been fully receipted.
so what concerned me, July shouldn't be all in. It's down almost 10%. And September also down 13% from what was going on last year. I don't remember what was going on in our area last year to have bumped it up high, or what was going sideways where it bumped down. Have people changed their traveling habits? We've before said, well, smoke, well, other issues going on in the world. We're gonna wanna watch how these come in, because our budget is built on, I don't have the budget. Do we know what the expected receipts were for this year? In the budget
What the expected receipts? No.
projected? Okay. That's something to watch. We'll see how that rolls. All right, short-term budget, short-term rentals. Next.
Yes, so, also with that, the review of the application process for updates, I know that's gonna be a discussion, so I can kind of go to a few other line items if you
Go ahead.
want, we'll come back to that. In following up from the previous items from the September meeting that you wanted me to follow up with, we did just talk about giving a hoot. I had mentioned that previously. And then also you had asked about Chris at Vintage Windows, who had graciously withdrawn his application last January to allow for funding of another organization. I did follow up with him. Sophie had talked to him in early 2024 after that meeting, offering to provide a letter of endorsement to support for other potential sponsors. I followed up with him again to see where he was at with that, if he needed anything from us, or if he was looking to do a similar program, and invite him to reapply since it was reopened, the grant application process was reopened. He said he didn't have any programs at this time that were fitting of that need. And I think he had some conversations with other city departments if he looked to move other things forward and if there were collaboration opportunities, but nothing that would fit the CTP grant process like he had applied for at that.
But we're on record to provide a letter from this committee. If he were to seek funds, he could contact you for endorsement.
It's been offered to him yes, now twice. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As far as the reserve line for economic development program, which includes our contracted agencies like ADA, AVA, Monteith House, et cetera. It is about 500,000 in this biennium, and those funds are necessary to make sure that we have for emergencies like when COVID, et cetera, to make sure that we can continue to operate those organizations based on the contracts that we have in place. At this time, the only funds that are available for distribution by this committee are the CTP grants, which are currently funded at that 100,000 for biennium or 50,000 annually. So there are currently no other funds accessible. So those are the funds that we have.
And how are we looking budget wise? We likely to need to dip into that?
At this time, I don't believe so, but I
know something bad could happen tomorrow, but
yeah, we don't.
right now, we have not utilized that reserve fund. It hasn't been needed to deal with last fiscal year and so far this. Okay,
I did also just want to mention to the committee, save the date, it will be coming out. We will be sending it, but, for committee members, February 27th, there are going to be 2 trainings that are offered to allow for time of day. And you may have been through them in the past, but it's always would encourage a good idea to attend, see if there's any updates. And we will forward that when it's available. I just wanted to get that on your calendars to think about at this time.
February 23rd.
February 27th. And there will be 2 of them available for presentation at 11:30 or 4 p.m.
They're an hour, hour and a half.
I'm not sure the length. We were just notified. It's about an hour. Yeah. So other than that, I have the application process for updates. I did include in here. As we can tell, I know the last 2 meetings that I've been part of, there are a lot of questions that come up by those that do apply. Questions here from the committee of, does that fit our description of what our grant is? And so I think this was tabled from the last meeting. Due to time. So I just wanted to bring it back to the committee because no changes can happen to this without you all. So I figure this is a great time to bring this up when we see the questions that are raised by not only the applicants, but ourselves of how does that fall in? What clarification do we want to do, whether that's the definition, whether that's coming up with consistent dates so that people know annually this is the time of the year that that application process comes in, that it's open from, I'm just suggesting like, yeah, July 1st to September 1st, and we know that we meet annually in September so that we have those dates that are always set and it's not flexing. Do we want to clarify the quote process? And are we looking at, if it's over 10,000, is it 3 quotes total or 3 quotes for us getting a stage? So items like that I think, or the tiered approach, how does that work? So I'm bringing it up to the group now to get your suggestions, and then we can move forward on any necessary changes to the application. I know you had brought up what that definition currently is of what we provide. So how do we help clarify this to make sure that the applications that are coming in check those boxes of it fits related to tourism and bringing people into Albany in some back.
So I think the definition, I mean, either the definition needs to be changed or the things that were funded today shouldn't be funded.
So Pam, can I?
please.
Can you hear me? Okay. I guess what I'm seeing is, if you go back day 1 with this group, it was basically events were supposed to be heads to beds, for hotel stays. What's going to generate more, TLT? So what I'm seeing, the disconnect sort of from the applicants is they're focusing on their event, but they're not really, I don't think they're seeing enough written down here in text that we want to see hotel stays. So the only thing I'm seeing here would be under the collaborative tourism promotion, the second paragraph. It says this fund is managed by the city's tourism advisory committee. If we could add to promote events that will that will provide hotel stays, or however you want to word it, something for them to be able to show immediately what the funds are to go for, and that's the main goal, is hotel stays. Then on their application itself, because they're going to scroll on down and go through the questions of the application, is it being under number 2, how will this event or activity benefit tourism in the Albany community? how about adding benefit tourism that provides hotel stays, or however you want to word it, just so people can see that's our main objective, is bringing in, more hotel stays. That's my thoughts, just kind of going through this, that somehow I don't think the applicants are quite seeing that of what the goal is here. Any thoughts?
My initial reaction is tourism is bigger than hotel stays. Hotel stays is an indicator. It's a way to track how we're doing, as would if we had a sales tax, gathering information from the restaurateurs of what's going on in their tills as we have an event in town. So I have a problem limiting it to the metric of hotel stays. I think we can explain tourism broader and still provide people that yes, the list that we looked at today, giving a hoop, the marquee, the headsets for the carousel, all good projects, but they don't have a whole lot to do with what would end up being any of the metrics we use. So Sophie had typed up metrics for us 3 years ago, what we could be looking at for the main, what we call it, the folks that get direct contracts. And it is beyond, we're judging them on beyond hotel stays. We're downtown association, reduce vacancy rate downtown, membership growth, retention, mailing address campaigns, maintain highest level of Oregon Main Street certification, events and attendance. That last one's the only one that's kind of on that wavelength. Monteith House, number of visitors, number of tours. Okay, number of visitors, sure, could be. Parks and Rec, Northwest Air and Art. Number of nights associated directly to festivals and sporting events. That's spelled out. The others, media and break even on Northwest Art and Air Festival, are their objectives. So we're asking the Visitors Association to focus in on TLT revenue and the occupancy rates. But after that, we go a little bit softer because we do marketing. Is marketing necessarily a hotel room booked? Not necessarily, right? So that's where we get waffly of, and I would like us to continue doing marketing. I think that's a huge part of what this money should be used for.
Well,
And it may not result in that, the way that you were stating it, Sharon, it makes it like everything has to hit that heads and beds div.
Right, and it can be worded somehow differently. What I'm just saying is we need to get in the applicants' minds really what our objective is here. And I just feel what the applicants were getting, they're not quite seeing what we see as what is tourism.
well, the grant is the tourism promotion grant.
Yeah.
And that's what it specifically says. It's not about money for putting on events, other than if it is a startup. Otherwise, it's for promoting things. It's not for
Heads and beds.
It's not for creating things. It's not for funding an event. It's for funding the marketing of a new part of an event.
Mhm.
I mean, it's if that's that's what we're doing.
So we're very confused also. Our document is very confused. Yes, it was for promotion. Promotion equals people in the community equals a whole bunch of different metrics, one of which is heads and beds. I know that there was interest at the council level of, especially by one of the former councilors, of it being only about.
Yes, I was just gonna bring.
Only about, we don't need to bring him up again.
No,
But to be recalling where that council was, and then I think the council today, they are broader minded and understand that there's multiple impacts possible if you use this resource right. It can do more than just one thing. So I think that's where our current policymakers are. I think that's where my policymaker is anyway. I don't know if you guys have talked to yours, but.
So the Visitors Association, Downtown Association, Monteith, those are continuing things. Those are separate from.
And Art and Air Festival.
Yeah, those are separate from this grant.
Correct.
So I'm talking about this grant.
Right, but I also, Sharon brought up the heads and beds. I don't think that should be the end all of how we spend this money, is trying to get people's heads in beds. Because the Latino Festival, I really doubt puts any heads in beds. And when they're at Monteith Park, they might have frequented the restaurants down here or stopped into your shop, Oscar, and bought a suit. Those type of things. It benefits the whole community by bringing revenue in on these events.
I totally agree, and this doesn't.
Right,
Yeah,
I
that's
just wanted to focus on, like the former counselor that we're speaking of, he was all about heads and beds and nothing else. And I don't think we need to look at how it improves our community by people spending money here. And not all events are overnight stays.
Coming here, we used to say, if you buy a tank of gas and you're from out of town, are you a tourist? Well, you're a visitor. And if we have something that draws your eye and makes you think, well, maybe I should come back when we're slowed down, we've achieved some. So it's not a black and white effort to be promoting tourism.
So Pam, maybe it would be, like you say, would an event, have their event that would be bringing in outside visitors. So instead of just for Albany residents, but more outside visitors to bring money in.
Well, maybe
it's just a thought. I just kind of want to get us away from some of the applicants we've been seeing that all of us are kind of uncomfortable with, that we, I know I am, I can't speak for everybody, but with some of the applicants, that'd be if we can just sort of somehow tweak the wording to prevent some of the ones that we don't feel really fit the criteria.
I would support getting rid of the whole line that Oscar brought up earlier about it's for these things, because I don't think it's for those things. If we brought before us a football clinic that was bringing in 500 children and their families, where does that fit in that sentence?
If it's a new thing, then it
Well-
would be the startup. As long as it's not being done by Parks and Rec, because then.
Well, I'm thinking it would be. It would be. So,
Because outside agency is probably the.
right.
And the way that this is worded is that can be a multi-year event.
As well.
That's on item 6.
Yeah.
So we've got that built in, even if it's not a new item. It's can be if we can do 70% funding, 30%. And so it eventually runs out of funding for us.
Right.
We've taken the approach of, is it something that is bringing business in some way, shape, or form to Albany? And,
Write that down. Yes.
And
that's it.
And it also is something that is not forever. They need to at some point stand on their own 2 feet.
Agreed. They got to branch off.
And that's at least that's been the mindset that I've had since I've been on this committee.
Agreed.
Is that it's something that draws, and I know that doesn't say that, but it's something that brings business to Albany, and it's something that they can show the wherewithal. That's why I asked the question of the $5,000 of the mushroom folks, is because I want them to be thinking about, okay, this is an ask, but
now what?
This isn't forever.
I see us as a launch for them, but we'll see.
Well,
I was shocked they did so well the first year. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be, maybe 100 people showed up, but they had thousands and had crowd control issues.
Yeah, I think we need to revamp that wording, but, anyway, that's the way I've seen this deal. I do have a question, as long as we're on the application. And, we asked for, if it's less than 10,000, they only need one
Vote.
quote. The problem I have is that's 20% of what we have to give away. I'd like to be able to say, drop that number to at least no more than 5%. $5,000. And I would like it to be that it's for whatever they're asking funding for.
I'm
So if
confused,
it's
Bob.
the, pardon?
It says if it's less than 10,000, which would include those that were 5,000 and less.
Well, right, but I'm asking that we lower that number from 10 to 5.
Oh,
yeah.
And
so that
then
people under 5 don't have to provide us
they
with
don't,
information?
but I'm just, because, yeah, well, they need to provide one.
That's what this says.
This says 10.
That's, if it's less than 10, so that would be if I have a $2,000 request, I have to give you one
give us
quote.
one. I'm saying drop that from 10 to 5, and anything over 5 needs 3 quotes for everything that they're getting funding for. So if they're looking for a stage, if they're looking for a venue, if they're looking for whatever, that they need to provide us 3 quotes for each piece.
Because that was my other question with that, is it 3 quotes, like 3 different vendors for a stage, 3 different vendors for this,
Each
or
element.
the assumption that it seems most organizations are operating with is 3 quotes overall.
Right, and to me, because of the dollar amount, if they're asking for more than $5,000, they need to give us a quote, for at least 3 quotes for every item that they're asking funding.
So how does that work with, for example, porta pots when there's only one vendor in the area?
It's difficult to impossible.
Well,
Well, just as
an example, I know.
well, but maybe that's not something that they're asking for funding for.
Well, I'm saying if it is
Well,
something they're asking for funding for, and you say they have to have 3 quotes, if they don't have 3 quotes, they're not, they don't qualify, and then nobody can qualify that needs porta pots.
I believe that it's important that we not make this onerous, as simple as possible, and let these folks that are doing events go off and put on their event and put their time into the event instead of meeting that requirement at all, because it's a reimbursable grant. It's not that we're handing someone a blank check. They, when the day is done, don't see the money until they give us an actual billing statement from an entity, and that's our safeguard. So coming into this granting process, I would like some surety that they're in the right ballpark, that they've done their initial homework and come up with fairly solid numbers by checking with at least one vendor. After that, I don't really care, because our checks and balance system comes at the end, when the receipt is in our hands and we can see how much was truly spent.
So I'm going to come back to this because I think this is way more, it's so important that we know what it is we're going to be funding before we know what the application is going to be. Right? This says that, yes, you can ask for money for a startup event, or you can ask for marketing money. It's not year 2 of an event. If it's year 2 and you want money from here, you have to be advertising a new thing to that event. It's what it says.
Mm-hmm. And that's been my understanding.
We've taken the tack of if it's the first time they've come here. That's, even though it may not.
So that's a startup event.
It may not be a startup, but that's the
30-year-old event is a startup.
We said we wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Right, that was the tack that had been taken when I first got.
So there's a policy. I don't know if it's the most current one, because this was in my files. It's got the same number as the other copy I have from who knows how long ago. So the policy that was in place, undated, talks about marketing and other tourism related activities, collaborative tourism promotion, and our committee's role. So I believe there's a need for the marketing component. I'm not sure if the Creative Arts Guild needed our money to do the marketing that they should be doing anyway. We gave them a nice grant. On contrast, I do believe that the marketing money that we gave for production of additional video and other online tools to the Visitors Association is dead on with what we're doing. So are you, the rest of you on that page, are you feeling the distinction there between Creative Arts Guild and putting a presence onto media?
Well, if you're talking about what the AVA is doing with the video stuff, I'm totally on board with that. I don't know that it actually meets this criteria.
Yes, I agree. That's why I'm trying to, how do we slice this so that it gets to where we think should be funded? So if we think we should be funding the presence of social media and video and drone footage and that kind of stuff, we need to retool this. If we think we're trying to give funding to nonprofits to market their activities, the Creative Arts Guild, the Latino Festival, etc., I think that's kind of already in here.
It is, if they're marketing a new aspect, which is why I asked him if they were doing anything new.
Which was a good point anyway. I had a concern 27 years and you're still here.
I do, well, and they did take, if I remember correctly, somebody else kind of took it over. But where did this narrative come from? We create that, or did that come from?
That is what is listed in, it's actually listed in the application, like in the process. So it's the cover page of the application, and it's also listed on our webpage for the grant. So who created that? I'm not sure from the history standpoint, if that was created by the committee or just as a general description. I can look into that. What I would say is, in an effort to kind of keep things on time with the agenda, because I want to make sure that we've got the business from the committee as well, which we have slated here, and I know we've got hard stop. I think this is a really good start to the conversation, and we're all looking into this further. We recognize that there are changes that need to be made in clarifying the language. I'm going to present to this group, do we have, not to meeting us to death, but do we schedule another meeting as a committee, not to get out the grant funds, but to firm this up so that when our grant cycle reopens, that we have this clear cut and it avoids applications that may or may not fit in various manners and avoids that ambiguous language that we seem to have throughout here.
I think that my own personal opinion. I think we need to have a meeting just to do this very thing.
Yeah.
But I think this is a very good start to the conversation and looking at this process critically so that we don't continue kind of kicking the can with that number and then not feeling like the applications we get are meeting the needs of either the grant or what we're looking at previous.
I'm less concerned about me receiving something that's not acceptable, more concerned about burning a nonprofit's time.
Right.
I think we do everybody a disservice by not being clear. So I am willing to put my time in so that we don't have folks come before us like we did at the prior meeting and it's like, you're not even close. But I don't know how to tell you that with a smile on my face. So you did.
I agree.
So let's come back then and not wait 6 months. Is that okay with your time commitments?
I would prefer if the committee is willing to actually do that so that when we open up the grant cycle again, before we have a September meeting, if we continue to follow that same schedule, so that we have this ready to go. And if we're operating on a let's open this July 1st to September 1st, then we would probably want to do that sometime this spring.
So I'm feeling, we started that conversation about what is the purpose of these funds, not what's the purpose of these funds, what's the process, including is this the application content we're looking for, what is our timeline? And there's a couple of other questions you guys brought up. Let's tackle that all at once in a work session kind of environment rather than a full meeting, inviting people in that have things they'd like to talk to us about, only this. Because this is the second time we've run out of time to be able to dig into it. It's a 2-hour conversation.
But it's an important.
And if you or somebody else could facilitate that conversation so that we, as we just did, we circled around 5 topics within like 2 minutes. And so I know Lisa wanted to jump in and it was like, no, let's just stop.
But I think this also
Stay
allows
away.
us to go back to be able to then come to that work meeting, with suggestions written of maybe language, kind of like what Bob was saying, like, I would like it to, just using that example, I would like to see this being 1 foot under 5,000. Not saying that that's happening, but just we're able to come to the table with some of those suggestions.
So if you could outline, and I'm happy to help you, I don't want to just dump it on your shoulders, so happy to help you. Let's figure out what the questions are we want to answer. And yes, sometimes you get to the 5th question and it, feeds the first one that you thought you answered. I understand that there may be some need to go circling back through, but let's try to be strategic. Keep that in mind.
Big pieces of paper with
Thank you.
dots.
You know me too well. Give me a colored pen, I'm all in. But there's just a small group of us. Sharon, do you have times of the year where you're actually here? Because I would like to see your face alongside me instead of trying to do video. I feel like we leave you out.
No, I'm fine. So I'm just let me know. And usually I'm always home on the 3rd week of the month of a Tuesday, because that's Albany Partnerships board meetings. But when it comes to summer, I'm gone more, but it's winter time, so I'm not gone much.
So we'll skip February because we were also good and shut up today and look at March. Oh, geez, it's a busy month. Why? The first, yeah, the first week of March. Why? Because that's what I'm looking at. What do y'all think?
I'm gone most
Oh,
of that.
you said second week of March, I'm gone. Sorry. Sharon, what's your date for the partnership?
The 3rd Tuesday of the
What
month.
date is that?
The 18th of March.
18.
Yeah, I'll be
Hold on.
home for sure, but probably in March it should just be a long weekend.
18th is good for me. How about y'all?
Good for me.
Okay, but not on that day, not on the 18th, just that week.
Because she's already got.
Yeah.
So can we
do the 20th? And then we continue with this Thursday at 3:30 schedule. Is
Okay.
that something that works? Just to maintain.
Yeah.
consistency?
Yeah.
March
20th.
20th?
That works.
Yeah.
3:30.
Sounds good.
Okay. My other question, now that we've solved that piece, is do we want any of the folks that are doing tourism to be helping us with this, or do y'all just want to keep it just tight with us?
I think we can be able to mull it, be able to work through it, Pam. So
Okay.
all of us have been around for a long time, and we're seeing what the applicants are kind of going through, and so that's what I think we can kind of work through it so we can make it a more fluent process for them.
Who were you asking to have come in?
I just wondered if you wanted to have folks that are in the business involved, like Rebecca, or I don't know, whoever you wished.
I think we'd be fine with us staff.
All right. Okay. So we've got a meeting, March 20th at 3:30. Do you guys want to bump it up a half an hour so that you can be out of here by 5? It doesn't matter to me.
It's a little bit harder for me to leave that.
Okay,
It's 3:30.
but you
I'm
can
still
stay more
leaving.
easily to 5:30. Give ourselves 2 hours and hope that we're only an hour and a half. There's a dream. Okay.
And I put in for 2 hours.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, so that was the last thing on our agenda. I have one question for staff. So the council doesn't see our minutes for 6 months till we have our next meeting. How do we talk to them about the things that they have just funded? and the contracts that are going out, so that they're not out of the know when somebody comes up to them and says, Alex, wouldn't you be part of the city-funded mushroom festival?
Can you go to a staff or to a city council meeting and do business from the public and share? what we've just done?
And share, how is it typically done these days? Yes, but I don't want to, they keep trying to tighten up the agendas.
You get 3
And they
minutes.
may not, I know, they may not wish to see me. Is there something we should be putting into their packet to just like our little table here?
I have asked several times that the minutes come out
I know.
sooner. And I've been told that doesn't work. That, and,
You have to meet to approve.
yeah, well,
But they're right.
but they're a draft, and in my mind, I mean, none of my staff waits, for 2 or 3 months to actually write the minutes.
Heavens.
They actually do them within a day or two of the meeting. And so a draft, in my mind, should be available. I've been told that that's not procedure.
You're also welcome to talk. We have a new city recorder. We just have to talk about this, and this is going to be brought up because it has come up, and he's like, "I have anyone else to talk to talk with them,
Awesome.
give them any
Would you be
information."
so kind as to send me this contact information? Because I'd be happy.
Doesn't say they actually popped in here for a second.
Was that what that was?
Yeah.
I was hoping it wasn't the people that we said we didn't want to find.
I
thought it was
this to
people
me,
who looked at her and I knew it was.
it's hard for me to remember what took place 6 months ago, or 4 months ago, or 3 months ago it was, to be able to get minutes, and I've been told, well, you can go look at it, and I go,
No,
I don't want to go read, I don't want to go through the video.
that's not being
That's not.
transparent, easily accessible information.
And so.
I would entertain a motion to ask Bob to speak on the committee's behalf with the city staff about trying to get us, our interest in getting our minutes earlier.
I'm happy to do that.
So I would entertain a motion to say,
I move that Bob works with staff to get our minutes, more, in a more timely manner. Does that work?
I'll even second.
all right, we got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for doing that. I think there's a disconnect between trying to be really smooth on a city policy kind of level and then being responsive to the community too. I think there may be people that care about what we're doing and how come they didn't get funding and they'd like to read about it and yeah, think about
And
that.
again, it would be, they wouldn't be necessarily approved, but at least they're a draft, and we can,
But well,
at least it's something.
I had the same requirements put on me when I was a staff person. I thought it was ridiculous.
The videos are available. I posted the entire thing.
I went online to find out if I had been reappointed. And 45-minute investment of my time later, Marilyn made a motion, it was seconded, and it was approved. 45 minutes later of me trying to find that. So as opposed to I could have hit an agenda draft. All right, guys, anything else for the good of the order? We have another meeting, that 2 hours work session environment. Cool. Well, a big to-do list for you of, yeah, getting our information to the council. Adjourned.
I'm gonna.
Ta-da.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks very much.
Bye, everyone.